All righty. Well, welcome everyone to today's Powerplay Tuesday. We have an exciting speaker who has been on our platform before, joining us again in this year of 2024. But he's got an interesting topic that I will share with us in just a little bit. I'm going to go through a couple of quick announcements and then invite him up. But we want to thank everyone for coming out to today's class. Of course, today is provided for you guys with education in mind. So just our disclaimer here, we don't give any tax, legal, or investment advice. We bring up our speakers to provide educational content, but of course, always do your due diligence when doing any investments or needing to seek any sort of financial advice. Today, like the class that you are joining us, we host other webinars as well, like our self-directed IRA Saturday class that takes place at the same time, but of course on Saturdays. But every Saturday at noon, we host that one. Powerplay Tuesday, that one's going to be every Tuesday at noon. But we also have in-person socials as well and other events designed with networking in mind. So if you're looking for more than just an educational webinar, we definitely invite you out to our quarterly in-person socials that take place in all of our cities, Austin, Dallas, and in Houston. I will share with you guys the ones that we have coming up for our next quarter, which will be in May. But be on the lookout for those socials as they pop up. But if you are not located in one of our Texas locations or close to there, we still want you to have the opportunity to network as well. So you can join us on the fourth Wednesdays of the month to participate in our Zoom networking, which encourages, people all over the United States to come share their deals, share their services. If they're looking for, something for a deal, this is a great place to network with clients and non-Quest clients. But if you ever do miss an event, you can always go back and watch them on our YouTube channel. So we do, like I mentioned, have a couple of exciting specialty events coming up. And the next one that we are doing will be our Millennials webinar, which is going to be a special kind of elongated SDIRA Saturday, where we're going to spend these 3 hours bringing on millennial investors to not only share their secrets for how young people can get involved, but some of the things that they've learned just, being this generation investing that maybe can provide some educational tips to others as well, whether that be Gen Z or, before the millennials. So definitely feel free to get registered for this one. This will be a free online event that you can scan this QR code to register for. And then, as I mentioned, we have our second social that we will be hosting for this year. We just finished up with our first quarterly social that was in February. Great event all about partnering together. But come May, we will be celebrating Military Appreciation Month, and we will be bringing a vast assortment of veterans turned investors that will be sharing their educational tips all about different ways that they were able to kind of make that transition, from a certain type of, industry that they were from into becoming an investor. So the education that will be here at this panel will be for everyone that may be looking to make that leap as well. So we will be bringing out as wounded warriors, partnering with them to also, give back and do a little bit of charity there too. So we would love to have you register for this event, whether that be in our Austin, Houston, or Dallas offices. You can find that by clicking on the links here that our moderators are posting, depending on what city you are in. And then lastly, save the best event for last. We are bringing back the Quest Expo. So I'm sure that you've heard a lot of us talking about the, 85 different vendors that we'll have with over, 35 keynotes and panels between the various breakout rooms and main stage. And then we will also be having our biggest event in the way of attendees at this Quest Expo. So we plan to have around 1,000 people in attendance at the Irving Convention Center this June 27th through the 29th. So if you are interested, I will also go ahead and post my link as well down here so that you can get taken directly to the Quest Expo page if you are interested in getting either a general admission or a VIP ticket. But you definitely won't want to miss this one. Some of the feedback that I've gotten from the past is really just the level of education that you get here, combined with all the networking opportunities through talking during the event and during those different cocktail parties and welcome parties. This is one of the greatest events that I certainly think that you won't want to miss out on. So if you have questions, you can always reach out to us, whether that be about getting started with your self-directed IRA, the Quest Expo, or any of the educational classes that we have here. We are always more than happy to help. But without further ado, I will go ahead and bring up our speaker. We have Michael Huang, who's going to be talking about house hacking, which I think, whenever I see this title, it's always something that you go, that's interesting. I definitely want to check that out. And so today what he's going to be talking about is not only strategies that, you may be able to think about as you're utilizing your retirement account, but even as you're just, building those strategies in your own personal investing, whether that be, how to get started at a young age or kind of utilize strategies that you're not familiar with. He's going to talk a little bit about his story and what he's learned and how you guys can create cash flowing property as well. So without further ado, Michael, I'm going to go ahead and let you take it away. Thanks for joining us.
All right. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks for having me, guys. So she gave me a little bit of an intro, and this is my second time at Quest, but let's go through it again. Who am I? Michael Hong. Here's a picture of me and my beautiful wife on one of our recent trips to DC. I worked in a number of industries before I became real estate retired last year. Worked in oil and gas, commercial construction, and most recently telecom before I no longer needed a job, thanks to the power of real estate. Started investing in 2018. Fun fact, that photo right there, that is me and my wife the day we closed on our first house hack. That was the first property we bought using this strategy. So started with house hacking. Then what house hacking did for me is it freed up tons of my income and allowed me to explore other avenues of real estate investing, which the first one was syndications for me, which if you come to Quest often, you're very familiar with what we are. We have tons of great syndicators up here. Then I get into buy and hold single family. And most recently, I started doing transactional funding. Really love that business. So why house hacking? So there's a little exercise I like to do with people when they want to talk about this is the first question I ask you is, how much money do you earn per month? For really simple numbers, I just like to say, let's say you make $100, $100 a month, easy for us to all visualize. Then we'll ask you, how much of that goes to housing? Is it $30? Is it $50? Is it $70 a month out of that $100? So figure out how much of your monthly income goes towards your housing costs, whether you rent or you pay a mortgage. And then ask yourself, how much do you save and invest each month? I was looking at some statistics, and if you're saving $10 of that 100 every month, you're doing much better than the average American. Most people aren't even doing that. But ask yourself how much you save and invest each month. And I don't mean how much money you have lying around. I mean how much money is transferring into your self-directed IRA, your individual brokerage account, your savings account, money that is being stashed away. How much are you siphoning off the top and not affecting your standard of living? And then I like to ask people, how much could you save if you had no housing strategy? If you had no housing costs. You're renting, your mortgage payment, whatever it is you're currently paying, take that number and amplify it. So let's just say that you're spending $30 out of the 100 a month on housing, and you're saving $10 a month out of the 100 in your savings and investing. What if you eliminate your housing cost? Well, now you're saving $40 a month. That's 4 times what you were saving and investing. Play with that in a compounding calculator. Look at your last real estate investment, see how much that money grew, and then multiply that by 4. That's the kind of power that you can have when you house hack. So we're going to talk about financing strategy next. So there's a couple different ways to do this. You can start with conventional lending. That's how most houses are bought on the market. Think of Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. Think of VA, FHA, conventional financing between 3.5% to 5% down, sometimes more depending on the type of loan, sometimes less if you qualify for first-time home buyer and down payment assistance programs. Fun fact, that first home that you saw me in front of with my wife, we actually got, not only did we get 5% down, but we got a first-time home buyer assistance program. And so we actually got money back at closing. We got $800 back when we bought a house. And then we used house hacking to make it free. So it's a very powerful strategy. However, as I grew in my career and I understood real estate a little better, I discovered some better strategies than conventional. So first I discovered hard money. And then I discovered my favorite strategy, which is private money. Hard money and private money work very similar to one another. However, there are some key differences. Hard money is typically from companies, and then private money is typically from individuals. There's a lot of different ways we can. I hear when I go to the meetups, everybody argues about what the difference between hard money and private money is. But I'll tell you that the big difference for me is that I find private money at Quest Trust Company, and it has just been working the best for me out of hard money and private money. But the point is that when we're looking at our financing strategy for house hacking, single family investing, multifamily investing, when we're looking at these strategies, we're asking ourselves, are we going to buy something? When we use conventional, I'm going to back up here. When we use conventional, we're buying it off the MLS typically, and it's needs no improvement. So the numbers might work for you as buying it right off the MLS with conventional financing. But where you really get equity capture and you create value, because we want to appreciate the value of the property, is we use hard money and private money. So we buy property that need a little work, properties that don't qualify for conventional financing. It's going to be a little more work, but it's going to be worth it in the end. I had a property where every dollar I put into it turned into 3.5, maybe even a little more, 3.5 to $4 worth of improvement. So you put 10 grand in the property to bring it up to whatever the modern standards are, and you create $40,000 worth of equity. So you need to discover what your financing strategy is going to be: conventional, hard, or private money. Knowing what I know now, private money is the way to go. I want houses that need some work done. I need to improve them, and I find all my private money up at Quest Trust Company. Next, we'll look at market selection. So if you're buying with conventional off the MLS, or if you want to rehab a property, we're going to ask that you find a realtor. I myself am a licensed realtor. However, there's lots of realtors that specialize in specifically what you're looking for. And you can also use a realtor to find properties that you would use hard money or private money for. There are people who specialize in finding off-market properties that meet your buying box, your criteria. So next, we're going to drill down on the PITI you can afford. So PITI means principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. The taxes and insurance are going to vary based on the area that you buy in. Your loan officer can help you get an estimate of that. You can also do some research on your own to figure that out. But usually your realtor is going to be your first resource that can bring all of those resources to your table. But for simple math, let's say you discover that your PITI is, I don't know, $2,000 a month. My first house hack was $1,800 a month. It was $1,800 a month. So once you get a pre-approval, or you talk to a hard money or private money lender and you realize what you can afford with your PITI, we can start looking at submarkets. So we're going to look for a submarket within your budget. So submarket sounds like a fancy word. It just means the zip code, the HOA, the part of town that makes the most sense for you to invest in. So we're going to find the submarket that works best for you. For me, I was looking at where a PITI I could afford versus what my rent comps look like, which is the next one. And so rental comps, if you're house hacking a single family home, you're looking at roommates, tenants, people who live with you. If you're house hacking a duplex, triplex, or fourplex, which you can do up to 4 units when house hacking before it becomes a commercial loan, you're looking at just typical long-term rental comps. Your realtor can provide you these comps. You can find them on Facebook, Craigslist, Zillow. There's a number of places. So when we find a realtor, we drill down on our PITI, we find our sub-market within a budget we can afford, and we look at rental comps, whether we're doing a duplex, triplex, fourplex, or we're buying a house and renting out by the bedrooms. Next, we buy the property, and this could involve rehab. So a lot of people that I talk to who are new, they get a little nervous at this juncture, and they think like, what do you mean I have to make offers on properties? Yes, you have to make offers on properties. You have to put things under contract. You have to negotiate. And when you finally close on the property, if rehab is needed, then you begin rehab. Pro tip, the best deals that I ever got took multiple attempts to lock up and put under contract. So we're going to talk about community standards. You own a home. Now what do you do with it? Well, you got to live in it. Whether it's a single family home, a 2, 3, or 4 unit, you've got to live in at least one unit, typically for at least 12 months. So we're going to talk about community standards. You got to make your house rules. So I learned when I first started doing this, I was a little loose, but what I learned over time is the tougher the community standards and the rules that you make for the property, the longer it takes for you to find a resident to move in, but the better that resident is. So do you want there to be quiet time from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m.? Do you want no house visitors? Do you want only 2 house visitors a month per guest? Do you want to limit them to only have 1 car on the property at a time? Whatever you want your house rules to be, it's good to specify that, think about it, observe the property, and just think, how are 2, 3, 4, 5 people going to live here at once? At one point, I had a property where no one's allowed to have their boyfriends, girlfriends, husbands, wives, whatever their situation is. No one comes over if you're not a resident. You want to go see people, go somewhere else. We don't have the parking, we don't have the bathrooms, we don't have the space. And so I was able to create an environment that you would think nobody would want to rent from, but you put beds and desks in a nice, clean, safe environment with a lot of community standards. And I had a lot of young professionals that just wanted a place to eat and sleep and shower and go back to work. And it worked really well. So then we're going to market for our tenants, residents, depending on, again, if you're renting by the room, and then I've found a lot of success with Facebook groups, Craigslist, and there Zillow, and there are paid services, but I never had any success with paid services. There's just no replacement to doing your own prospecting, finding people through Facebook and Craigslist, and you can even post on your own social media. There's also a newer service called PadSplit. People love PadSplit. I've never personally used it, but I've heard great things about it. Next, you got to decide, are you going to show the property before or after application? So in the beginning, I was showing the property to anyone who was interested. And then I started to think about it once I had other people living in the property. Once 1, 2, 3 of the units are rented out, you got to think about other people's safety and privacy and everything else. So I switched to do an application before I show you the property. So if you decide to do application before you show property, expect that some people will be turned off from that, and that's okay. Expect that you need to do lots of photos, videos, lots of clear communication on what's around the place. I built a little map with the property and what's around it, but not giving the exact address. So you're going to do a little more work if you're not going to show the property beforehand. Next, we're going to talk about tenant selection. This is where your realtor is going to help you a lot if you aren't confident on your criteria, but you need to figure out what's your credit check going to be, what's your credit check criteria going to be, what is your background check going to look like, what is your income verification process. You have freedom to pick here within free housing laws. With the credit check, I was always very loose on it. I just want to see evidence that they're paying their bills now, and they didn't have any evictions. An eviction was a non-starter for me. Background check, you have to decide: do you want absolutely clean background check, criminal background check, or are you okay with misdemeanors? Are you okay with felonies? Are you okay with violent felonies? I'm not okay with any of that. And so you need to clearly outline your criteria. Next, income verification. And what is your income standard? For me, it was 3 times whatever the rent was. And then you have to verify that. You have to verify that they're still employed. But your realtor can help you with that process if you're unsure about it. After that, we're going to talk about strategy. So, what did the house hacking strategy allow me to do? When I went into house hacking, I said to myself with the objective that I'm just going to free up some of my income, some of my budget, and turn that into income. I told myself if I could pay half my mortgage, I would be happy, because I knew how real estate works is over time, rents increase, the value of my property increases, the debt pay down happens, right? The mortgage is being paid off each month. And so if my choice is rent an apartment, rent a home, or house hack a home, it was a no brainer. So I set out with saying, let me just, let me just, let me just get half my mortgage paid by somebody else. Not only did I get half my mortgage paid, I got all my mortgage paid. And then it also turned into some extra cash flow on top of that. So it turned into me being paid to live. And what that enabled me and my wife to do is just steamroll and plow all of our money into other investments, which included multifamily syndications and then later doing the Burr method for buy and hold single family homes. So I would ask yourself, what is your strategy? What is the point and goal of you pursuing house hacking? I've met people who did 10 house hacks. Typically, when you do conventional financing, you are committing yourself to staying in the home for at least 12 months. That means every 12 months you can do another house hack. Every 12 months you can get another duplex, triplex, fourplex, or single family home if you want to rent out by the room. And I know people who did that as long as they could. I know people who were like, yo, I don't have any kids. I could buy a house, rent it out by the room, 12 months, move into the next one, do it all over again, move into the next one. When you're done, you've got a portfolio of cash flowing real estate using conventional financing. I know people who said, yo, I've got a wife, a kid, they're not okay with living with other people. Fine, you do a duplex, triplex, or fourplex. And the name of the game is you do it until you tap out. We do this as long as we can stand moving every 12 months, 24 months. You can stay in the property as long as you want, but if you're really aggressive, every 12 months you'll move. We want to do this as long as we can, because when you look back, what you thought you were buying was just a run-of-the-mill home. You weren't buying a ton of equity. And then when I look back, it's just been, I still have that first home, actually, that I first house hacked that you saw on the first slide. And I'm probably going to be selling that this summer. And I'm probably going to take net proceeds of about $155,000. So 5 years ago, I lived for free when I bought that home, made cash flow. It also produced tax write-offs for me while I was living there. I bought other homes, moved out of that home, continued to rent that home, and I'd like to remind you that I got $800 back at closing because I used a down payment assistance program. What's your ROI when you get paid $800 from day one and then you live for free? I lived in that property for 3.5 years before moving into other properties, but you can do it every 12 months. What's your ROI if you have a property for 5 years, got paid $800 at closing to buy it, and then you sell it 5 years later for probably around 150,000 in net proceeds? And right now it's cash flowing me about 725, 750 a month right now, as it sits. And so I want you to take that number and multiply it by 10. What if you did 10 house hacks? Where would you be in 10 years? What if every year you did another house hack? And so I'm here to tell you that knowing what I know today, I would have done it faster. I would have not stayed in that property 3.5 years before getting my next property. I would have been a little more aggressive with it. And at the time, I also want to remind everybody that at the time when I was buying that house hack was 2018. And if you turned on the radio or if you turned on YouTube, or if you watch TV, everybody was saying real estate's too expensive. Don't buy. Real estate's too expensive. For some reason, 2017, 2018, everyone I was listening to said now's not the time to buy. Well, what happened in 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022? And I just kind of wonder what would have happened at that point in my life if I had taken the advice of strangers on the internet and said, nah, it's too expensive to buy. Let's just keep renting. Let's just keep renting. I'm going to wait for the big crash and I'm going to buy. Um, I'm going to think about that again when I'm getting that $150,000 check at closing this summer when I sell that property, when the current tenants move out. And I might do a story on my social media about that. You might see that. But knowing what I know now, I would have did more house hacks faster. Knowing what I know now, I would have transitioned to using private money and hard money sooner. As I said, my first deal was conventional financing because that was the easiest for me at that time. But what if I'd got up to Quest Trust Company sooner? What if I'd went up there and met private lenders sooner? What if I would have went and did the extra work to find the distressed property sooner? And what if I would have started doing the Burr method and buying homes with big equity captures sooner? Fun fact, this house that I'm in right now that you see behind me in this video, I bought this house in cash with private money from a Quest Trust Company client, rehabbed it, got moved into it, and refied into conventional financing. And I have probably close to 6 figures in equity in this home today as well. I do want to put a side note though. If you're using hard money or private money for a house hacking strategy, at least in the hard money lending documents, they mention that you won't occupy the home, that it is an investment property. So make sure you disclose to them what you intend to do with the property, whether you're flipping it, refining it as a rental, or moving into it. They need to know ahead of time. And some lenders, some hard money lenders, not conventional lenders, some hard money lenders won't be okay with that. And that's fine. So that's why I go to places like Quest Trust Company, where we get to meet people one on one. We get to discuss terms that everyone's comfortable with. And they just want to meet you as a person and say, who are you? What are you trying to do? What are you interested in? So just want to add that note there. Most hard money lenders are not going to allow you to use hard money for a house hacking strategy. Talk to them. Some of them might. In my case, I had good rapport with my private money lender, and I had used them multiple times. And when you build trust and you're a repeat customer with somebody and you show them you're serious, you'd be surprised what kind of terms that people will give you. And if you're talking to people and they're not liking what you're saying, they're not liking what they're hearing, then head on up to Quest Trust Company Social and go meet lots of other people with money. Every time I go up there, there is more money in the room than there are deals. So you guys are valuable. If you have motivation to get something done, go up there and talk. There's tons of money out there. So fast forward, you did your first house hack. It's going well. Your cost of living is cut in half. Maybe it's 100% gone. You're steamrolling money into savings. So we're going to talk about what strategy you're going to do next. You can do more house hacks, the Burr method, syndications. The world is yours because you're freeing yourself with a revenue stream that most people don't have. If you guys have read about the hedonic treadmill and how human psychology works, is that we have a tendency to, whatever our salary is, large or small, we spend right up to the hilt of it. And so it is common for people to, rather they're renting apartments, renting a home, or buying a home, they keep leveraging up their income as much as they can. And so it doesn't matter what your salary is, we commonly find ourselves feeling trapped financially and unable to make larger investments. But once you complete a house hack and you eliminate your housing costs, the world is yours. Options are wide open. Take a different job. In my case, I was traveling a lot, like a lot, like almost 100%. I was only home on weekends and holidays. I never thought I'd have money to put in syndications. I never thought I would be doing the Burr method. I never thought I'd be buying and hold single family homes in a market that everyone said was too expensive to buy at the time. But because I was doing house hacking, because I freed up my W 2 income, and because I stuck to this strategy, I then entered a different space where I had freedom to do whatever I want. Um, and then I was able to pursue bigger deals with larger profits, but I would have never gotten there if I didn't start with house hacking. So once you get there, pick your road, choose your path. It's like those old books that they used to have called Choose Your Own Story. I don't know. I'm in my 30s now, so I'm getting pretty old. I don't know if anyone remembers Choose Your Own Story books. You would say turn the page whatever for to go into the door, turn the page whatever to go to not go in the door. That's how I feel when I completed house hacking. I got to choose my own path. Um, and then got into Burr method and syndications. But you can continue to do house hacking. In fact, I'm looking at another house right now that I might house hack, a 3-unit. Um, Strategy with the budget. Your budget is going to change drastically when you house hack because you're going to have a lot more money coming in. And what I've learned is that if you don't tell your money where to go, your money will tell you where it's going to go. So I had to set up multiple bank accounts with automatic transfers because I had so much money coming in because I did not have housing costs. So I set up auto transfers to savings account called real estate funds. And I had another one set up called uh, house hack fund, real estate fund. So I had two different savings accounts set up, one to buy my next house hack and one to do something else with. And I didn't know what it was at the time. And that's okay. But it ended up going into a syndication and then later doing Burr method properties. Next part of your strategy is you have to focus on execution. It means you have to go do it. And you have to have regular check-ins with yourself. My wife and I use an annual meeting, like I think like a corporate or company meeting every year. My wife and I go to a restaurant, we have a meal, and we look at the books, and we look at our strategy, and we look at our goals. So we talk about what our goals are for next year, and then we look at the previous year's goals to see how we hit them. So at the end of 2023, we had our annual meeting and we said, what do we want to do in 24? But then we looked at the old goals from 22 and 23 and say, how close did we get to hitting these? Fun tip about your strategy and your goals: you never really hit them, but you get closer every year. And then you keep moving the goalpost further and further back. At least that's how it worked for me. And once you do a couple of house hacks and you start your real estate portfolio, guess where your annual meetings are? Well, our annual meeting for our little budget discussion this year was in Asia. We spent 2 months in Japan, Taiwan, and Vietnam doing things that most people never dream of. I'm 35. I never dreamed that I would be real estate retired at this age, and I never dreamed that I would be in Asia eating sushi and going on boats through caves in Vietnam. It was insane. And if you want to see more of that, it's on my social media. So execution, make yourself a budget, execute on that, and keep following up. Um, and then here is my contact page. If you want to follow me on Instagram, where you can see all the photos, what we're doing. If you want to chat with me, here is where we can click on the link to do that. If you'd like to get in touch with me or see more of my real estate content and what deals I'm working on. Do we have any questions?
All righty. It sounds like that was a good place to wrap up. But yeah, so as you mentioned, definitely take advantage of this QR code, reach out to him, pick his brain. We did have a couple of questions, and I can talk about this from the Quest side, but, maybe just like, from your experience as well, how would somebody find a private money lender via Quest? Of course, from the Quest side, we can never put two and two people together when it comes to actually finding those investments, but utilizing the events are a great place to meet other people. And if you would like to maybe share some tips that you've experienced, finding potential Quest clients, any practices, but events are always a great place.
Yeah, events are a great place. We have events. I found people through social media, but I've learned that what they really want to know is what you plan to do. So finding Quest clients starts by showing up at Quest events. Um, and having a deal, or pro tip, even if you don't have a deal, you can come with an example of a deal, um, and like a little bit of a case study. There's lots of people who have done them, but if you're going to put something together you've never done before, disclose that. A private lender is going to be able to tell if you've actually done a deal before, but just put some numbers on paper. Have something tangible to show someone. Have a PDF. Talk to people, meet them, tell them what your plans are. And if they're interested, say, I'd love to shoot you an email. Let me show you what one of these deals would look like. Um, and also be prepared to talk to a lot of people. I've met people that are very, very interested, but their money is committed. Or I've met people that are very, very interested, but they have funds to deploy right now, and I won't be ready to go until the end of the month. So my tip to you is to meet a lot of people, 10, 15, 20, 30 people. Have some kind of business card, have a social media where people can follow you, and have something tangible in writing that will show people what you plan on doing with their money, and most importantly, how you plan on getting them their money back.
Okay, that's a good answer. We've gotten a couple questions about syndicated deals. Neil said, can you please talk more about the syndicated deals? Someone said, could you give an example of a syndication?
Of syndications that I've invested in. I invested in a 120 unit in Killeen, Texas. This was a multi-family deal. I don't know what your say example of for syndications, but syndications in general are when someone who operates a property raises money from other people, from a general partner raises money from limited partners, and they put a bunch of people's money together, including their own. Hopefully, the syndicator is putting their own money in there, and they go buy a larger property and then distribute proceeds from it. And so it's great for people who have full-time jobs, who maybe are not full-time real estate professionals or operators, people who have a busy life and they want higher returns than what the stock market offers. Syndications are where you go. And initially, syndications made sense for me because I was working a corporate job, I had a house hack, and then I had more money coming in than I know what to do with. And more importantly, I just didn't trust the stock market. And so syndications were a good place for me to park money while I was learning more about real estate before I moved on to do Burr method properties and do additional house hacks. And so if you've got money that you want to put to work, syndicators are the place to park that money. And we have tons of syndicators that I've met at Quest Trust Company at their meetups. So if you have money that you want to put to work and you don't want to do the work, syndications is probably the best place for you to get started.
Yeah, that's a great answer. And to piggyback on that, a lot of people with retirement accounts, as he mentioned, if you're have your 9 to 5 job, but you maybe have some funds that your old 401ks, not being utilized to the best of its ability. Great for the passive investor that maybe, has the option to keep those funds in a retirement account, do a syndication, something like that. We have a lot of education as well on our website about syndications. If you'd like to learn more, I'll also have our moderator post the link to our blog so that you guys can learn some more about that as well. Neil asked, what % do you pay private money?
That's a great question, Neil. So every deal is going to be different. I've paid 14% and I've paid a lot less. Sometimes they want interest, sometimes they want points, sometimes they want points and interest. It's totally up to you guys to figure out what makes sense for you. They're going to put a different value on the deal if you say, I'm getting your money back in 30 days. For example, this house that I'm in, I borrowed private money from a Quest client. It was my second time, I believe, borrowing from this particular client. And he said, or I told him 30 to 45 days. You're going to get a different pricing on that versus, hey, I need your money for 6 months. I need your money for a year. So your deal is going to change what the private money lender and you can work out together. And it's about making a deal that makes sense for both of you. And if it doesn't make sense for you and it doesn't make sense for him, don't force it. Just go talk to somebody else. There's tons of people to meet at Quest Trust Company, and a lot of them are looking to invest in your deals.
Yeah, that's the beauty of the self-directed. You guys kind of get to find the terms that work best for both parties, right? And we can say, hey, that's good, that's good. We'll make sure that you can do that and take care of it for you on our end. Um, but I think that those are the questions that we have gotten. Again, I'm going to go ahead and bring this up one last time so that if you want to reach out, get the education, or maybe pick his brain a little bit more, you have the option to do that right here. But Michael, I want to say thank you. Do you have any last little tidbits of information that you'd like to leave us with today?
Yeah, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to DM me on Instagram. That's where you can find me 24/7. I also have a Calendly link you can hop on. But man, just shoot me a DM on Instagram, and that's where you'll also see me posting the deals that I'm doing. I will post opportunities for private money lenders to lend on my deals there as well. And you can also see pictures and videos of me and my wife traveling. Just got back from several months in Asia, so we're like processing through the videos right now. So you'll see lots of really cool content there, and you'll see what it looks like if you stay diligent with real estate investing and retire at 35 or sooner or later, whatever works for you. But don't hesitate to reach out to me on Instagram. I'm there all the time.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. You will have access to the recording if you want to go back and watch this class again on our YouTube page. It'll be up there in just a little bit. But thank you so much for joining us today. And of course, if you want to get registered for any of those other events that I shared, we have the links up here. But without, I guess we'll wrap it up. Further ado, thank you so much. And hopefully we'll see you for Self-Directed IRA Saturday this week.
Yep. Bye. And we'll see everyone at the Oh, you guys are all coming, right? I'll be there. See you at the expo.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Bye.